Okay, so today I'm going to film an injury style beginner class. We're going to go through a few of my favorite sequences to build strength. I'm also going to give you a lot of cues to activate and use those isometric engagements that you can feel internally in the body to get the energy where you want it to be for stability and strength. And then you can start to relax through the upper body, especially once we start to work through the grounding postures. So to start with, you may have a couple of blocks or a bolster, or you can even use a roller, so you can have that handy. And we're going to set up the breath, so I encourage you to, if it feels good for you, place the blocks in a T shape. So the first block, we're going to have it in between the shoulder blades, and then you can just begin to roll down onto the block. Place the bottom of the block in between the shoulder blades, and then relax the top block. Relax the head onto the top of the block, and then you can adjust the height from here. So the soles of the feet could be wide apart so the knees can turn in together, or you can open up the hips so you can place the soles of the feet together, and then just lengthen the heels away from the glutes, and then just allow the knees to relax open. So with these blocks, there are 3 heights that you can work with. If you prefer, you can adjust the height, or you can completely take the block away so the back of the head just rests on the top of that bottom block. And then this enables the throat to completely open. So see if you can just center into the breath to start with, which just means noticing the way the body is naturally breathed. I'm going to come up so I can talk. So just place one hand on the chest near the heart, one hand on the belly, and then just notice how the belly expands on the inhalation. The navel moves away from the spine to allow the breath to come into the body. And then as you exhale, just notice how the belly contracts a little bit closer towards the spine to allow all of the air to soften upwards and outwards. Then perhaps notice the movement of the chest. Hey Monty, this is Monty. So just allowing the ribcage to expand on the inhale and then contract on the exhalation. And just stay here for a few more rounds of breath. Just notice the way the mind is at the moment. Perhaps if you're breathing a little bit shorter and sharper, you're breathing somewhere in the top third of the lungs. Or perhaps the breath is longer and deeper. You're really working in and expanding all 4 corners of the lungs. And then perhaps noticing where the mind is at. Perhaps you're a little more open and receptive to what you're about to receive through your practice. Or perhaps there's a little bit of tension and anxiety. And without changing anything just yet, you're just really observing the mind and the breath and the body connection. So you can start to lengthen the breath, take an extra count on the exhalation, or you can double the exhalation if that feels good for you. Just taking a few rounds in your own time. See if there's anywhere in the body that you're holding tension or tightness that you can release and let go through the breath. Just be aware or pay attention to the thoughts without judgment, just observing them and without catching on to them. Perhaps you're checking off a to-do list of what to do later on after class, or you're going through what happened previously to today, to this experience. And at any time the thoughts start to distract you from your practice, just know you can use the breath as a tool to bring you back into the present moment, to bring you back into that connection with the mind and the body. So when you're ready, I invite you to bring a little bit of movement into the practice. We're going to add a little bit of controlled breath work here. So when you're ready, you can just slowly roll off the blocks onto the side of the mat. Hey Monty, we're moving. And we're going to come to a tall kneeling position. So from here, you can tuck the toes. See if you can send the hips back onto the heels, and then we're going to come up to a tall kneeling position. So the option here is to take the fingertips onto the heels and then just open up through the chest, but make sure if you're taking this option that you're pushing the thighs as if they were pressing against a wall. So it's a really strong back bend. It's a camel pose here. If that's a little bit too intense, just come to your tall kneeling position and then flick the backs of the hands so they're facing towards the back of the mat. So from here, you're going to start to open up through the chest. As you inhale for 4 counts, reach the arms up and over the head. Palms lightly touching together at the top. And then as you arrive, starting to draw the navel in towards the spine, lengthen through the tailbone and lengthen through the crown of the head. So from here, we're going to hold the breath in the body for 2 counts. And then when you're ready, slowly hinge forward at the hips. So you send the hips back, send the head forward to come down. Fold the palms behind the body as you take the palms towards the back of the room. And then as you arrive forehead to the floor, see if you can hold the breath out of the body for 2 counts here. So we're going to practice this for another 3 rounds so you can kind of get the hang of it. If you find you're getting a little bit dizzy, just place the block at the top or in front of you, so you're only going as far as the block with the forehead. This means the heart stays in line with the hips and then you don't go through so much of an inversion. So if you're ready, taking the option either coming through the full camel or just taking the thumbs towards the back of the room. As you realign the spine to come to that tall kneeling position, drop the shoulders, palms together. Hold the breath in the body for 2 counts. And then when you're ready, go for another hip hinge. So as you work that internal rotation through the shoulder socket as well, you're taking the palms towards the back of the room. When you're ready, see if you can hold the breath out of the body for 2 counts. And then slowly make your way out for 1 more round. So just notice how you're feeling in the body. Find that alignment through neutral as you hold the breath in the body. And then when you're ready, release. Hinging from the hips, sending the hips back, forehead to the floor. And then just pause as you hold the breath out of the body for 2 counts. So now we're going to go into bird dog variations. We're going to start with cat-cow. So you can start to lengthen the tailbone and the face towards the ceiling. Push the floor away and then round out through the shoulder blades, drop the hips, lengthen through the tailbone and really find that space between the shoulder blades here. So you can keep going with these rounds. I'm just going to give you a few more cues to think about and you can take these cues through to your sun salutations and your downward dog. So the first thing that we're going to think about is the palms. So we want to bend or squeeze the thumbs together, push the pointed fingers towards the top of the mat, and then we're going to bend through the elbows and then wrap the elbows around through the sides of the body as the biceps wrap around to the front. So as you bring a little bit of weight here, you're going to be activating a little bit more through the upper body and that's going to build the strength. This cue also keeps you really safe through the joints. So you're working the muscles rather than just dumping into the joints, and this will set you up for a safe lifelong practice. So it challenges the body, but it's definitely beneficial in the long run. So from here you can work through the cat-cows, lengthen through the tailbone, and then extend the heart and the face up towards the ceiling. So when you're ready, we're going to add on. If you need to drop back through the cat-cows at any time, please feel free to do so. So the first option that we're going to take is lengthen start with the right leg. So you can press the right leg towards the back of the mat and then just to begin to pulse it a little bit. So the toes are flexed and we're really just pressing out through the hamstrings and the calves. When you're ready, remembering to wrap the biceps around to the front of the mat. Just start to shake the shoulders over the wrists as you float the right leg up parallel to the floor. So as we do so, we're working the core. Keep the pelvis neutral, hips parallel to the floor in alignment. And then just start to roll up the ankle, circling it 3 times one way, like that, and then 3 times the other way, keeping it high. So you can add a little bit of a full leg circle here, circling 3 times one way, and then 3 times the other way, but we're not moving the torso, and to keep the torso still, we're engaging through the core, drawing the navel towards the spine. So from here you can add on, you can transfer the weight into the right palm of the hand as you extend the left fingertips long in front. So again, remembering that we want that nice flat neutral spine to make it as long as possible, and then extend right from the fingertips to the tips of the toes without moving the shoulders. So from here, we're going to add on again, we're going to make it a little bit more challenging if you can. Take the fingertips and the toes in opposite directions. So you are aiming for a 45 degree angle in opposite direction off the mat. And really extend through the fingertips and the toes, and then come back to neutral. So from here, you're going to press into your cat variation, press space between the shoulder blades. So really press through the floor, and then see if you can press the knee and the elbow together underneath the body. When you're ready, extend out long through neutral. Find that length through the vertebrae if you can, and then press the back foot up to a 90 degree angle, pressing it through the roof. So from here, you're going to squeeze the opposite shoulder blade back towards the opposite heel, and then lift up high. So you can tuck the toes, the supporting toes, for a little bit of extra support. And if you can, tent up the fingertips. So you're coming up even higher through your back bend. As you lift the face towards the ceiling, take a couple of deep breaths here, and then when you're ready, release. So the option is to come off the wrist. You can come through child's pose, knees wide, extend the fingertips long, forehead to the floor. Otherwise, if you want to keep working heat in the body, you can tuck the toes, come up, lift the knees a couple of inches off the floor, and then you can even walk the feet. So this is the bear pose. Just remembering, if you're taking this option, to really bend through the elbows and wrap the biceps, just to make sure that you're not doing any damage through those joints. And then when you're ready, we're going to come over onto the other side.